Part 32. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 311. But even so, there are still more than 10 million people in the live broadcast room. And after Lin Ziyu and the others left, after a brief decline, it began to rise again. Nan Yan shook her hands, moved her wrists, then disbanded the team and selected the character controlled by Bai Chen with the mouse. Next, it's our turn. 2 out of 3 games, Bai Chen asked with a low laugh, or 3 out of 5 games. Whatever, play until you are satisfied. The conversation between the two shocked not only the fans who were desperately outputting on the barrage. Even Qin Lu and Shen Junqing had complicated expressions when they heard these words. Such a natural conversation, and the doting tone of the one named Bai Chen, every minute, people began to doubt what the relationship between the two of them was. Qin Lu knew where Nan Yan was, picked up the car keys on the table, and put them directly into his coat pocket without quitting the live broadcast on his mobile phone, and strode out. Hashtag. The next was the PK game between Nan Yan and Bai Chen. The level of their operation was completely different from the previous team game with Lin Ziyu. The audience only saw the dazzling big moves and the precise and sharp movements, which made them tense and afraid to breathe. A question emerged in their minds: is the game played by these two the same game as theirs? This game can actually be completed like this. Someone sent out the video of the 2 PK, which immediately attracted major esports teams to come in and watch. Fans of Shutu also squeezed in desperately. The room originally had more than 10 million people, but in just over 10 minutes, the number of people soared to 30 million. And the number of people is still rising crazily. Nanyan and Baichen played a total of 5 games that night. After a 2-2 tie, in the 5th game, the two of them actually died together. According to the computer system, it was finally determined that Nanyan's blood volume was emptied 0.1 second later than Baichen's blood volume, so the final result was that Nanyan won. After watching these games that made people dare not even breathe, everyone breathed deeply and began to vent their excitement. For a while, the special effects of various gifts flashed on the screen. Nan Yan looked at the time, stood up and said to Anziran, "Fourth brother, you play for a while, I want to go back." Yan Yan. Anziran looked at her with resentment. "Fourth brother is inferior." Nan Yan was stunned, then reached out and patted him on the shoulder a few times, and said 2 words lightly, "Come on." Anziran. He claimed to be an esports genius. But his talent was completely crushed in front of his younger sister. He was crushed by his younger sister before, and now there is another Bai Chen. He is so upset. Chen Lang, who was watching Bai Chen's operation in the next room, was also upset. When Bai Chen went to meet Nan Yan, Chen Lang followed him with some frivolous steps. Then, Chen Lang and Anziran looked at each other and clearly understood the doubt in each other's eyes. This is too depressing. Anziran's dull eyes suddenly became hot. "Yan Yan, fourth brother wants to discuss something with you. Mr. Bai's skills are so good, if he doesn't sign a contract with the team, you see." "Don't think about it," Nan Yan coldly interrupted Anziran's fantasy. "He won't join the team, won't play in the game." "Why?" Nan Yan told them a very cruel reality expressionlessly. "He can earn tens of millions in a minute, and he doesn't care about your little money. The flow of water in the dark domain is managed by Bai Chen. And the dark domain network is profitable by taking a commission, making money every minute and every second." Anziran. Chen Lang. This is indeed more depressing than before. It's okay to be handsome, and it's not enough to have a natural talent in the game, and he is so rich. What kind of chosen person is this? Is his existence simply to attract jealousy? Bai Chen smiled playfully. "Actually, if Xiao Yanyan invites me, I can still consider it." Nan Yan glanced at him speechlessly. "Are you very free?" "Recently, I am indeed quite free." "Okay, fourth brother, When the international competition comes, I will invite him to participate on behalf of AEG. Anziran and Chen Lang's eyes lit up. Really? This level of master, as long as there is one, they are all walking bugs. Bai Chen hesitated for a moment, glanced at Nan Yan's cold and beautiful face, nodded and said, "If I am free at that time, I will participate." Nan Yan. It seems that he is indeed quite free. She was about to speak when her phone suddenly vibrated. She picked up the phone and the screen showed that Qin Lu had sent a message. She clicked it. "Is the live broadcast over? Brother is waiting for you downstairs." How did he come back? Some emotions flashed in Nan Yan's eyes, and then she put the phone back into her pocket. "Fourth brother, Qin Lu is waiting for me downstairs, we will leave first." This time, she had to leave. "He's here to pick you up. Then go down quickly, don't let him wait too long." Anziran had completely forgotten the resentment he had towards Qin Lu when Nan Yan brought Bai Chen here. Hashtag. Qin Lu saw his Rolls Royce downstairs. Combined with what Nan Yan said in the hospital that she was going to the airport to pick someone up, he guessed. After Nan Yan picked up the person, she took him to dinner first. After dinner, she didn't even go back to the old house, but came here directly. That person had a close relationship with her. So, what was the relationship between him and her? After sending the message, he leaned against the car door and lit a cigarette. The curling smoke made the emotions in his eyes dim and difficult to discern. Nan Yan and Bai Chen walked down the stairs. On the way downstairs, Bai Chen asked in a low voice, "Xiao Yanyan, who is the person who got you outside?" Nan Yan hesitated for a moment and replied, "He is a friend and a very good brother." She herself didn't know how to define the relationship between her and Qin Lu. Closer than friends, more ambiguous than relatives, but not lovers. But, the relationship is good. Pursing her lips, Nan Yan said, "If you don't want to see outsiders, I'll go down alone. You can ask my fourth brother to take you back to the hotel. I'll naturally meet a friend who has a good relationship with Xiao Yanyan." Bai Chen's lips slightly raised, and there was a ghostly emotion in his eyes. "By the way, thank him for taking care of you during this period." Nan Yan. She felt that Boss Jean would definitely not want to hear such words. Thinking of this, Nan Yan looked at him expressionlessly. "Bai Chen, don't bully my brother." Bai Chen laughed and scolded, "Xiao Yanyan, you are too heartless. I came all the way here to find you for you, but you actually sided with others." Nan Yan glanced at him and said lightly, "He is not someone else, he is my man." Bai Chen. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 312. Bai Chen was amused by Nan Yan's words. Not an outsider? Is he her man? Then he is the outsider? Humph. A sincere heart, wrongly given. "Xiao Yanyan, I'm angry," Bai Chen said coldly with a straight face. Nan Yan took out a lollipop from her pocket and handed it to him. "Here's a candy for you." Bai Chen. He took the candy she handed over with a bit of laughter and tears. "Xiao Yanyan, are you treating me like a child?" "No, because I like to eat, so I share it with you." Giving him something she likes is a disguised way of comforting him. You can't let him get really angry. After all, this is Bai Chen, her friend. Qin Lu leaned against the front of the car, hidden in the darkness. Except for the scarlet on his fingertips, the black windbreaker made him almost blend into the night. Nan Yan and Bai Chen were talking while walking again, without deliberately looking around. So, she didn't know that after she came out, she handed the lollipop to Bai Chen and said those words, which were heard and seen by Qin Lu. Qin Lu's possessive desire hidden in his heart was stimulated. For a moment, Bai Chen's threat in his eyes directly exceeded Shen Junking. Qin Lu threw the cigarette in his hand on the ground, crushed it, and then said in a low voice, "Yan Yan." Nan Yan looked at him and found the man standing in the shadow. "Brother!" she called out, then quickened her pace and walked towards him. Bai Chen's eyes darkened, and he followed Nan Yan's steps with his long legs. "Yan Yan, who is this?" Qin Lu raised his eyebrows slightly, and looked at Bai Chen with a deep look. "My friend, Bai Chen. Bai Chen, this is my brother, Qin Lu." Nan Yan gave a brief introduction to the two. She only told the other party's name, as for the rest, she was not convenient to disclose. As for whether the two of them knew each other, that was their own business. While Qin Lu was observing Bai Chen was also observing Qin Lu. It is impossible for him not to observe carefully a person who Xiao Yanyan thinks is hers. They have known Xiao Yanyan for such a long time before they became friends. It has only been such a short time, but Xiao Yanyan has already regarded him as her own. What methods did he use? For the first time, Bai Chen was hostile to Shinobu whom he had just met. When he saw Qin Lu's face clearly, a slight surprise flashed in his eyes. It turned out to be him. When he heard Nan Yan introduce him just now, he thought it was a coincidence. Unexpectedly, it was really him. Compared to his shock, Qin Lu's surprise was no less than his. Bai Chen did not disguise himself, but wore a real face, relying on the fact that few people in the outside world knew his true face, and swaggered through the city to find Nan Yan here. But Qin Lu was exactly the one who found out his true face. He did not expect that the person he thought was impossible, but just a coincidence, was actually him. Going to the airport to pick someone up, Bai Chen went to Jinjin alone. It seems that he took it for granted and thought that Nan Yan could not be related to Bai Chen. The result was so exciting. After a moment, Qin Lu came back to his senses and stretched out his hand to Bai Chen. And Bai Chen also reacted and stretched out his hand at the same time. "Mr. Bai, I have heard of your name for a long time. Mr. Qin, it's nice to meet you." The two held hands together, and their tone and demeanor were all polite. Then, the two opened their mouths, and Qin Lu said to Nan Yan on the side, "Yan Yan, you go to the car first, Mr. Bai and I have something to say." Nan Yan looked back and forth between the two. Guessing in her heart, the two people probably have heard of each other's name, and they are not strangers, she nodded, went to the passenger side of the car driven by Qin Lu, opened the door, and got in first. After Nan Yan got in, the atmosphere between Qin Lu and Bai Chen became a little weird. "I don't know how Mr. Qin knows Xiao Yanyan." Bai Chen's tone was meant to ask for an explanation. The sight was sharp, and although there was a smile on the lips, the smile did not reach the bottom of his eyes. Qin Lu said indifferently, "I wonder what identity Mr. Bai has to ask these questions." He wanted to ask, but it depends on whether he is qualified to ask. Bai Chen's tone was gentle, but the meaning of his words was full of boasting. "I have known Xiao Yanyan for 7 years, and I am the person she trusts the most." Qin Lu's eyes darkened. They met 7 years ago, when Nan Yan was only 11 years old. One is a top hacker in the United States, and the other is a poor little abused girl in the countryside. How could there be any intersection between the two of them? Could it be that Nan Yan has the ability she has now because of him? In this way, Bai Chen should be Nan Yan's nominal master and half of her family. Since he is a family member. Qin Lu's tone towards Bai Chen was restrained a little. "The little girl was in trouble at that time, and I helped her. So that's it?" Bai Chen understood a little. Nan Yan looks indifferent, but she is cold on the outside and warm on the inside. If others treat her well, she will be twice as good to others. If you lend a hand to her when she is in trouble, she will remember the favor. No wonder. The two men, each with their own thoughts, tested each other for a few words, and got into their own cars, fearing that Nan Yan would misunderstand that they had a conflict. Qin Lu drove a car, and Nan Yan followed him. Bai Chen drove Nan Yan's car and went back to the hotel first. After Bai Chen got in the car, he sent a message to Nan Yan, Xiao Yan Yan, it's late today, you go back and rest first, see you tomorrow. After Qin Lu got in the car, he heard a message reminder from Nan Yan's mobile phone and looked sideways. After reading it, Nan Yan replied to Bai Chen, okay. Qin Lu put his hand on the steering wheel, and after a moment, he said, Yan Yan, do you know Bai Chen's true identity? Nan Yan poked her finger on the screen and replied in a low voice, I know. The dark domain was created by them together. Brother, do you also know his true identity? Yeah. Qin Lu responded indifferently. The Rolls-Royce opposite lit up, and Bai Chen pressed the horn to signal Nan Yan. Nan Yan reached over and pressed the steering wheel in response. Then, Bai Chen drove the car and drove away slowly. Nan Yan asked after realizing it, brother, is it okay for me to lend your car to Bai Chen? She actually forgot about it. As a matter of course, she gave the car to Bai Chen, but she forgot that the car was not hers. Although she knew Qin Lu would not mind, she still had to tell him. No problem. Qin Lu stretched out his hand and gently rubbed the tip of Nan Yan's nose. Brother will also treat Yan Yan's friends as friends. He and Bai Chen had no conflicts. If it could promote cooperation with the dark domain, it would be an opportunity. In addition to his relationship with Nan Yan, he had to say that he began to doubt whether the other three people in the dark domain were also related to Nan Yan. After all, he heard that the four people who created the dark domain had a good relationship. Nan Yan knew Bai Chen and had a good relationship with him, so the other three should not have a bad relationship. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 313. The two didn't talk anymore. Qin Lu drove Nan Yan home. Brother, come in and sit down. Before Nan Yan got off the car, he extended an invitation. Qin Lu smiled slightly, it's getting late. You should go to bed early and contact your brother if you need anything. 10:45 p.m. It's indeed a bit late. Okay. Nan Yan didn't force it, drive slower on the way back. Well, brother is watching you go in. Nan Yan waved her hand at him, turned around and walked towards the old house. Qin Lu looked at her quietly. After her figure disappeared, he was ready to turn the car around. The phone screen suddenly lights up. He turned to look and saw a friend request. Note, white dust. Qin Lu reached out and clicked on the agree column and added his friends. Bai Chen, are you free? Make an appointment. Qin Lu picked up the phone and typed on the keyboard, okay. Later, Bai Chen sent an address. Qin Lu, okay. Hashtag. Burning color bar. On his way back to the hotel, Bai Chen met a bar. At this time, the two of them were in a private room in the bar. Mr. Qin, what do you think of Xiao Yanyan? When talking to smart people, don't beat around the bush and get straight to the point. While waiting for Qin Lu, Bai Chen investigated the relationship between Qin Lu and Nan Yan. Seeing how close the two were, he felt a little heartbroken. Then he couldn't hold back and asked Qin Lu to come over. Qin Lu poured himself a glass of wine and raised his glass to him. I think I've made it obvious enough. Bai Chen. Is it obvious enough? He actually made no secret of his wolfish ambition and dared to attack Yanyan. I have to say that Mr. Qin is quite courageous. Bai Chen's tone was a bit sinister. Naturally, he also found out Nan Yan's attitude towards Qin Lu. Xiao Yanyan clearly knew that Qin Lu had evil intentions towards her, and had no intention of resisting. Isn't this the default? Fortunately, he thought that with Nan Yan's personality, she would probably end up alone and guard her scientific research experiments for the rest of her life. As a result, Hong Luan's heart fell in love just a short time later. The object of my heart is Qin Lu. Bai Chen just wanted to pry open Nan Yan's head and see what she was thinking. How could he fall in love with such a evil star? You are so brave and not afraid of death. Qin Lu looked calm, drank down the wine in his hand, and then said calmly, "What does Mr. Bai want to warn me?" "Oh, no, he would only think of ways to separate the two of them. I don't want to have anything to say to him at all. Come on, let's not talk about Xiao Yanyan. You are the host today and you have to accompany me." He stuffed him to death. Bai Chen is famous for being able to drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk. He was depressed, so naturally he couldn't let Qin Lu feel comfortable. Qin Lu clinked glasses with him and said, "I'll stay with you until the end." The two of you drank 1 cup at a time and I drank 1 cup at a time. In the blink of an eye, there were empty wine bottles on the table. Only then did Bai Chen realize that Qin Lu had a good drinking capacity. He drank so much and there was no sign of being drunk. It was rare to meet an opponent, so Bai Chen simply let go and drank. After half an hour of drinking, Qin Lu and Bai Chen were both a little drunk. Not only were there empty wine bottles on the table, there were also empty wine bottles under the table. To say the least, the two of them drank at least 30 bottles. "Do you still want to drink?" Qin Lu was slightly drunk, and his eyes were filled with mist. He has never experienced the feeling of being completely drunk, and drinking like this is already the limit. "I won't drink anymore." Bai Chen waved his hand. "Mr. Qin has a good capacity for drinking. Please drink again when you have the opportunity. If he drinks more, he will have more. If he makes a fool of himself again, he will still lose all face." After Qin Lu paid the bill, the two of them walked out of the bar steadily and without wavering. They said goodbye to each other before getting into their cars and going their separate ways. Hashtag. The next day, after Nanyan finished exercising and washed up, she saw a few messages on her phone. Anziran sent it. He cashed out the gift money he received during yesterday's live broadcast and transferred all of it to her. The number is quite large, nearly 10 million. There was also a message from him later. "Yanyan, yesterday's live broadcast was very good. It is difficult for AEG to test the water through live broadcast. It has become popular and attracted a wave of new fans. If you have time in the future, you can come over and play a few more shows." Nanyan was quite surprised by the income from one live broadcast. After playing a few games, she was able to earn an income of 10 million. She was very satisfied with the speed of making money. Then he replied, "Okay." Anziran's cell phone was probably held by him, and he replied instantly, "Yanyan, Mr. Bai from yesterday, you can also invite him over, if he has time." Nan Yan, "Well, I will tell him." Anziran, "Then how much should we give him?" Nan Yan, "No need to give him money, it will make him feel that you humiliate him again." Anziran, "He also wants others to humiliate him like this, is that okay?" Nan Yan, "That's it, I'm going to eat." Anziran, "Go." Putting away her phone, Nan Yan changed her clothes and went downstairs to eat. Mr. An and Zhang Nai were waiting for her in the restaurant. Zhang Nai bit her bun, unable to hold back her curiosity, and asked, "Sister, there are so many things going on in your school, will it affect you?" Nan Yan said calmly, "No, it will affect the principal and those behind him. You should concentrate on preparing for the exam and sign up for Zhide. The school's problems will be solved soon." Yan Yan, "I saw that you posted those things with your own account. Will it be dangerous?" Grandpa An's tone was a little serious. "If there is danger, don't go to school during this period, stay at home." "I am not going to school, but I have other things to do." Nan Yan paused and comforted, "Grandpa, don't worry, I will be fine. She will send all the people in the principal's group to jail. As for the new principal candidate, she wants to ask the Dean of Studies if he has this idea. She will ask him later and wait for his reply before taking action." Grandpa Yan patted her hands. Grandpa knows you are very capable, but Yan Yan, no matter what you do, always remember that you are not alone, and Grandpa is always behind you. Who said that? There is only you, old Manon, and I am also here. Grandpa Lu walked in steadily. Yan Yan, Grandpa is also standing behind you. Old man Lu, why are you everywhere? Grandpa Yan said unhappily. Grandpa Lu sat down next to Nan Yan without any hesitation. Our Yan Yan has done such a thing to benefit the society. I am proud of my granddaughter, isn't it okay? Yan Yan, don't be afraid, even if they want to touch you, they have to see if they are qualified. Nan Yan looked at the two old men's concern for her, and her heart was warmed, and she said softly, Grandpa, Grandpa, thank you. But I know my limits and can solve it myself. As soon as she finished speaking, Qin Ye hurried in. Grandpa, there are a few people outside, saying they want to see the eldest lady. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 314. Qin Ye hurried in. Grandpa, there are a few people outside, saying they want to see the eldest lady. Who are they? Grandpa Yan and Grandpa Lu stood up together. Compared to the two old men whose faces changed slightly, Nan Yan was very calm. She also took a big sip of the warm milk. They didn't say who they were, but it should be related to the principal of Zhide School. Qin Ye was also paying attention to the principal's affairs, so it was easy to guess. Grandpa Yan said in a deep voice, Yan Yan, you eat first, your grandfather and I will go outside to meet them. Grandpa Lu also said, Yan Yan, listen to your grandfather, let your grandfather and I handle this matter. Nan Yan drank a glass of milk slowly, put down the glass, raised his chin slightly and looked at the two people. No, I want to meet them. They may not be here to cause trouble for me. Although, the possibility of trouble is more than 80%. But now the matter has become a big deal, and the capitalists will definitely not be able to keep the principal. If you are a smart person, you should try to cool down the heat at this time to avoid burning yourself. You should not come to her to make trouble and make things worse. Of course, maybe those people don't know how powerful she is, and they want to try to force her to do something by means of pressure, which is more likely. After Nan Yan finished speaking, she walked out. Mr. An and Mr. Lu looked at each other, and they were not very confident about Nan Yan, so they followed her. In the living room, 5 or 6 people who looked like they had some status sat awkwardly on the sofa. They looked at the door from time to time. When they saw Nan Yan coming out, several people all stood up. You are Miss Nan Yan, right? I hope you can forgive me for coming here. We really have no choice but to beg you. When Nan Yan approached, she found that these people looked well dressed, but their faces were tired. There were red bloodshot eyes. Nan Yan was a little surprised about the reason why they came to her. She targeted the principal and did not go to catch them. It's not that she wants to let them go, but she doesn't want to make things too big in public, and plans to deal with them secretly in the future. If it's too much, it will cause irreparable impact on Zhide High School. This is not the result she wants. Suppressing the doubts in her heart, Nan Yan calmly asked, What are you begging me for? A man begged, Please, tell Mr. Qin not to kill us all. We are willing to pay compensation and do anything, just ask him to leave us a way out. Nan Yan raised her eyebrows, Mr. Qin. Hearing these 3 words, a name appeared in her mind, Qin Lu. So, she took action and dealt with the principal, and then he uprooted this group of people. This speed and efficiency are indeed like his style. Yes, Mr. Qin from the Qin family in the imperial capital. We accidentally heard his subordinates mention your name in their report, so we ran to you, Miss Nan, to ask for help. Please, let Mr. Qin stop, we are willing to pay any price. Several people surrounded Nan Yan and begged her. The aura of Mr. N and Mr. Lu next to them disappeared after they saw that the other party was not looking for trouble. Then Mr. Lu couldn't help asking Mr. N, does Mr. Qin have a good relationship with Yan Yan? He didn't know much about Nan Yan's affairs, and didn't know about her and Qin Lu. Of course, he's my future grandson-in-law, your future grandson-in-law. Grandpa Lu looked unhappy. Yan Yan hasn't graduated from high school yet, and you're in love so early. It's not that we haven't confirmed the relationship yet. Lu is also principled. He is willing to wait until Yan Yan graduates from high school and goes to college to confirm the relationship. Compared to Grandpa Lu's dissatisfaction, Grandpa N is 100% satisfied with Qin Lu, and he was smiling when he spoke. Grandpa Lu's face looked a little better, but his tone was still very serious. Although he is willing to wait until college to confirm the relationship, most young people are easily emotional. We still have to explain to Yan Yan, and don't be fooled by sweet words. Grandpa N responded. He couldn't help thinking in his heart, Qin Lu, that child, how can he listen to what he says? But he is willing to believe in his self-control. He said he wouldn't mess with Yan Yan in high school, so he wouldn't mess with her, right? Grandpa N looked at his granddaughter and was not so sure. His granddaughter is as beautiful as a fairy. To use the popular words on the internet now, she is pure and lustful. Her appearance is too tempting for men. Thinking of this, he really got worried. On the other side, Nan Yan frowned because of their annoyance, and said coldly, it's useless for you to find me. I can't help you at all. Miss Nan, don't say that. We have already found out that you have a good relationship with Mr. Qin. If you are willing to plead for us, we will definitely thank you very much. Nan Yan no longer has the patience to listen to them. In front of them, she called Qin Lu directly. In a few simple words, she explained the situation here, and then asked, brother, how do you want to deal with them? Several men looked at Nan Yan's phone eagerly, and the pleading in their eyes was revealed without any concealment. Those who abuse their power for personal gain and bully others should be punished accordingly. Why, Yan Yan thinks that brother is wrong to do this. Nan Yan turned on the speakerphone on her phone so that all these people could hear. Qin Lu's words made their faces pale. But his next sentence made them put all their hopes on Nan Yan. After all, judging from Qin Lu's voice, if Nan Yan was willing to intercede for them, they still had a chance of survival. Nan Yan raised her eyebrows carelessly, her eyes swept over several people, and said clearly word by word, brother, of course it's right for me to do this, and that's what I mean. The faces of several men suddenly changed, but because Nan Yan was on the phone with Qin Lu, even if they were unwilling, they didn't dare to do anything to Nan Yan. Qin Lu laughed softly and invited, if you have nothing to do in the evening, brother will take you to eat delicious food. Okay. Nan Yan agreed and hung up the phone. Then he looked at them coldly, did you hear it all? Anything else you want to say? Since Miss Nan didn't save us, we can't say anything more. Just pretend we didn't come today. The men all looked as if they had eaten a fly, and walked away angrily. Before leaving, they still looked at Nan Yan gloomily, as if they were saying something harsh with their eyes. After they left, Mr. N came over with a little worry and asked, Yan Yan, will you offend them by doing this? Nan Yan smiled lightly, if they offend, so what? Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 315. Mr. N was stunned for a moment. Yes, so what if I offend? Their Yan Yan family is not someone who can be bullied. Plus Qin Lu, who dares to mess with her? Mr. Lu said angrily, this kind of people really need to be severely punished. Yan Yan, you did the right thing. If they dare to come to you for trouble, Grandpa will protect you. Mr. Lu hates filth the most. He has been proud all his life, does not conform to the world, and hates businessmen and Philistines. Therefore, For so many years, he didn't care about Lulahua and Anyeoking, and he didn't care too much about his granddaughter. Now, Mr. Lu feels a little regretful. If he had known that his granddaughter was so pure and cold and arrogant, and would not be dazzled by the prosperity of the world, he should have brought her to him long ago. And then develop some artistic flair in her. But now. Why? I hope it's not too late. When she graduates from high school, she will try to find out which art she is interested in so that she can cultivate it as soon as possible. After settling the matter with the men, the three returned to the restaurant to have breakfast. Zhang Nai ate her rice, her eyes darting around. Nan Yan tilted her head and asked, "Xiao Nai, what are you thinking about?" "No. Nothing." Zhang Nai was suddenly called, and quickly sat down, looking obedient. "I'm just thinking about going back to the orphanage in the next 2 days, thinking about what gifts to bring to the dean and other people. When you go back, ask Uncle Tian to give it to you. If you want to buy something, just swipe my card." Nan Yan said, taking out a black card from the card bag and handing it over. "Buy more, don't buy less." Zhang Nai shook his head quickly. "Sister, no, you are paying for my food and drink, how can I ask for your money again?" Nan Yan chuckled, "Just think of it as a loan, and you can pay it back to me together in the future. It's a rare occasion to go back. Don't be too stingy. Just buy whatever the orphanage needs. Just think of it as my contribution to the orphanage." Since her rebirth, she has been wondering if God would give her a chance to start over because she had done so many good things in the past. So after being reborn, she did as much good deeds as possible within her ability and accumulated blessings. Every time the money is received, part of it will be donated to various welfare organizations. When Zhang Nai heard what Nan Yan said, she said gratefully, "Sister, thank you so much. I will definitely tell the dean's mother about your help to them." Nan Yan smiled and said, "If you are free then, I will accompany you." "All right." Mr. N and Mr. Lu watched the two of them talking with satisfaction on their faces. Mr. N really likes this little girl Zhang Nai. She is diligent, optimistic, and enthusiastic. She gets up before dawn every day to help the servant clean up, and she also plays chess with him, an old man. He even wanted to recognize her as his granddaughter. Mr. Lu fell in love with Zhang Nai's talent in playing chess. Now that he sees that she has not forgotten her roots and sticks to her true nature, he is even more fond of her. The two old men also said that when they went to the orphanage, they would also go with them. Hashtag. After eating, Nan Yan did not go to school. She had other things to deal with and wanted to see Fuyubai again. Anyway, the dean was not here, so she openly skipped class. Yu Ziwen and Luo Ziajun, who were vacationing on a beautiful island, had just returned from the beach when Luo Ziajun's cell phone kept ringing. "It's an unfamiliar number again." Luo Ziajun frowned slightly. After they left for vacation, Yu Ziwen's mobile phone was set to be turned off. I don't know where those people found her phone number and started to contact her. She had answered 2 or 3 calls before, but after hearing who the caller was, Yu Ziwen immediately told her to hang up. This time, she didn't want to answer it. "Just hang up." Yu Ziwen had no objection and the call was cut off directly. Then, less than a minute later, the phone rang again. This time, it was Yu Qian's mobile phone number. Luo Ziajun looked up at Yu Ziwen, and a bad thought came to her mind. The distance between these 2 phone calls is so short, could it be? And Yu Ziwen also thought of this. He looked calm and reached for the phone. "I'll answer it." Luo Ziajun handed the phone to him. Yu Ziwen moved to answer. "Hello. Yu Ziwen, you are finally willing to answer the phone." There was a strange and sinister voice on the other side. Yu Ziwen's hand holding the phone suddenly tightened, and his face became a little gloomy. "Who are you?" "Who am I? I am the one who was harmed by you." The man opposite had a somewhat irritable tone and cursed angrily, "If you want your son to be safe and sound, go find your good student and ask her to calm down this matter. Otherwise, you can just wait to collect your son's body." After saying that, the other person hung up the phone with a click. "Lao Yu, did something happen to Xiaoyan?" Luo Xiaojun saw the clues from Yu Ziwen's face, and his heart skipped a beat. Yu Ziwen supported his wife and said in a serious tone, "Yes, they kidnapped Xiaoyan." Luo Xiaojun's vision went dark and he almost fainted. Fortunately, Yu Ziwen supported her, otherwise she would have fallen down. Luo Xiaojun's face turned pale, and he grabbed Yu Ziwen's hand and started to walk back. "Let's go back now, and save Xiaoyan." "Well, let's go back." He doesn't want anything, and is even willing to exchange his own life for his son's. He couldn't let his son have any accidents because of him. The two of them went back to the hotel, packed up their things haphazardly, booked flight tickets on their mobile phones, and took a taxi to the airport. At this time, Luo Xiaojun's cell phone rang again. Caller ID, Nanyan. Luo Xiaojun looked at Yu Ziwen. Based on Yu Ziwen's thoughts, he didn't want to involve Nanyan in this. He was afraid that Nanyan would be implicated. But he suddenly thought of what Nanyan had said to him. Her ability is far from what she shows. Thinking of this, he quickly answered, "Yanyan." "Teacher, listen to me." Nanyan's calm voice interrupted Yu Ziwen. "I know about your son's kidnapping, and I will go over and deal with it immediately. Don't worry, I assure you that nothing will happen to you, Qian. You and your wife can stay outside with peace of mind and don't come back until the matter is completely over." But Yu Ziwen and Luo Xiaojun really have no intention of continuing to travel now. Nanyan held the phone in one hand and said calmly while driving the car very fast, "Teacher, you have to believe me. In 6 hours, I will ask you Qian to report to you that he is safe. How about that?" Bai Chen, who was sitting in her passenger seat, didn't feel dangerous at all. Nanyan's driving skills were as reliable as hers. Even if he wanted to be nervous, he couldn't. Yu Ziwen asked uneasily, "Yanyan, are you in danger?" "No," Nanyan said firmly, "they don't have the ability to threaten me." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 316. Nanyan's words made Yu Ziwen somewhat relieved. After repeatedly telling Nanyan to pay attention to his safety, Yu Ziwen hung up the phone. "What did Yanyan say?" Luo Xiaojun asked quickly when he saw Yu Ziwen hung up the phone. "Yanyan said she was going to rescue Xiaoyan." Yu Ziwen patted Luo Xiaojun twice on the back comfortingly. "She asked us to wait for news and not to return to Jinqing." "Then, what should we do?" Luo Xiaojun was still worried and had no idea. Yu Ziwen looked solemn, hesitated for a moment and then said, "Listen to Yanyan, wait for the news." He believed in Nanyan. Since she said there was a way, there must be a way. On the other side, after Nanyan hung up the phone, Bai Chen clicked his tongue and shook his head. "Xiao Yanyan, you really haven't changed at all. Whoever has you as a friend is really a blessing from their ancestors." Before Nanyan was reborn, he valued feelings and loyalty. Although it is difficult to get in touch with her, if you are recognized by her, she will treat you as one of your own, and you will be extremely protective of your shortcomings. Hearing this, Nanyan asked back, "What about you? Have you also accumulated good deeds from your ancestors?" Bai Chen. Heartbreaking. "Xiao Yanyan, I am different. I am different from those people whose ancestors have accumulated good deeds." He was regarded as a disaster star by the family members and was scolded as the star of the family for several years. But now the family members regret it and have always wanted to invite him back. There is nothing so good in this world. He no longer wanted to take revenge after becoming powerful. He was already looking at the old man's face. He promised the old man that he would not take action against the Bai family while he was alive. After he dies, it depends on his mood. Nan Yan knew Bai Chen's situation, so he just said it casually and didn't mention it again. After he was no longer distracted, Nan Yan increased the speed of the car. 3.5 hours later, the black Rolls-Royce stopped in front of a building. Nan Yan unbuckled her seat belt neatly, opened the door and got out of the car. Bai Chen rubbed his brows, unbuckled his seat belt, got out of the car and followed her. Before entering the door, he stretched out his hand to stop Nan Yan and smiled warmly. "Xiao Yanyan, just stand behind me for this kind of thing. Your strength has not been restored yet, so just be a spectator." How could the little fairy Yanyan do something like a fight herself? Her hands are so important, let alone getting hurt, even if they break the skin, it would be unbearable. Okay, Nan Yan agreed leisurely. With Bai Chen here, she really doesn't need to do it herself. Hashtag. In a closed room. Yu Qian was gagged and his hands and feet were tied to a chair. Several desperate men around him were torturing him. These men were not the ones who went to settle down in the morning. But he is also the person who is related to this incident and is implicated. Compared with those who went to settle down, their situation was more difficult. They really have no way of survival at all. A hot search on Nanyang not only cut off their livelihood, but also made them face legal sanctions. Based on the crimes they committed, they will probably spend the rest of their lives in prison. Anger and fear made them use Yu Qian as an object to vent their anger and beat him. Yu Qian's mouth was gagged and he couldn't even scream. He could only instinctively curl up his stomach to reduce the damage to his internal organs. "You bastard, you'd better beg your dad to let that bitch Nan Yan replace you, or you'll die here today. She won't let us live, and we won't let you live either. Even if we die, we will hold you as our backer first. You have a strong bone and you didn't say a word. It seems we beat you too lightly and beat you to death." They didn't care that Yu Qian couldn't make a sound because they had blocked his mouth, and they greeted him all over regardless. Yu Qian tensed up his body tightly, and his eyes, which were black and blue after being beaten, gleamed fiercely. "These scum! Scum!" Outside the door, Nan Yan pressed her ear against the door, and her face darkened when she heard the sounds inside. "Xiao Yanyan, calm down, I'll do it." Bai Chen quickly pulled Nan Yan away, then took action and kicked the locked door open. The men inside who were surrounding Yu Qian subconsciously looked back. Then, I felt a gust of wind rushing over me. Then, there was severe pain from the body. In just a few seconds, they received countless punches and kicks. All of them were in pain, lying on the ground screaming and moaning. Yu Qian opened his eyes wide and looked at the two people who suddenly broke in. Is that handsome man still a human being? The speed almost exceeded the limit of human beings, and the movements were so fast that only after images could be seen. When he reacted, those who bullied him were all knocked down. Nan Yan walked up to Yu Qian, took off the tape on his mouth, and then helped him untie it. "How are you? Can you still hold on?" Yu Qian was so stunned by Nan Yan's beauty that he was at a loss for a moment. Hearing her question, he lowered his head in a hurry and said, "Can. Wait here a moment." After telling Yu Qian, Nan Yan walked towards the people lying on the ground. The whole body seemed to be surrounded by evil spirits, and there was a touch of ice on the cold brows. When Bai Chen saw her like this, he knew that she was really angry. Looking at the people lying on the ground, there was a little pity in his eyes. "If you offend Nan Yan, I'm afraid death is the only relief." He clicked his tongue and asked, "What do you want to do with them?" "Of course, hand it over to the police," Nan Yan said in a very calm voice. "I am a good citizen now." Bai Chen had an expression of "see if I believe it or not." Then under his gaze, Nan Yan slowly took out a small bottle filled with medicine from his pocket. but before handing it over to the police, I'll treat them to a jelly bean. Bai Chen smiled, his eyes clearly filled with the meaning of as expected. Nan Yan ignored Bai Chen and poured out the same pills from the medicine bottle as those of the men on the ground. Bai Chen took the initiative to take over the task of feeding the medicine without her having to do anything. Everyone forcefully stuffed one in. Then, Nan Yan calmly took out her mobile phone and called the police. Xiao Yanyan, do we have to wait for the police to come? Bai Chen doesn't like dealing with the police. Well, if you don't want to see the police, go wait for me in the car first. Bai Chen nodded, then I'll wait for you in the car. Nan Yan handed him the car keys and walked back to Yukian. Bai Chen walked neatly, took the key and walked out. Yukian stared at Nan Yan and suddenly asked, "Are you Nan Yan?" "It's me." Nan Yan handed over the phone. "You call the teacher and the wife first, they are very worried about you." Yukian's cell phone was smashed when the previous few people were venting. Thank you, Yukian lowered his head, not daring to look at Nan Yan's face. Her beauty is too shocking to look at. If you watch too much, you will fall. Just when Yukian wanted to call Luo Xiajun, Nan Yan's cell phone lit up first. 2 words appeared on the screen, brother. Because he was nervous, he answered the call directly. What was even more nervous was that he was still talking to his mobile phone. Hello. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 317. Hearing the voice coming from the phone, Qin Lu frowned slightly. Yanyan's phone, who is holding it? Who are you? Qin Lu's low and majestic voice reached Yukian's ears through the receiver of the mobile phone. Suddenly, his nerves were tense. Yes, I'm sorry. Yukian hurriedly handed the phone to Nan Yan. I accidentally answered your call. Nan Yan took it, glanced at the screen, said to him it's okay, and then put the phone to his ear. Brother, what's wrong? Who just answered the phone? The son of the Dean of Teaching, Nan Yan explained. I asked him to call the Dean of Teaching to report his safety, who knew that you called in now and he answered it by mistake. Qin Lu frowned. You went to T-City. Yukian was studying in T-City. And he just learned that Yukian was kidnapped. Originally, he planned to send someone to rescue him. It seems that he was a step late. Has it been solved? Nan Yan glanced at Yukian's lips and saw that they were a little purple. While talking to Qin Lu on the phone, she put her other hand on Yukian's wrist. Yukian's body trembled, and he almost pulled his hand out subconsciously. Fortunately, he resisted the urge and let Nan Yan feel his pulse. Brother, I called the police to arrest the people here. I will go back after solving the problem. I have something else here. Let's talk later. After that, she hung up the phone, took Yukian's other hand, and continued to feel his pulse. Yukian was stunned by Nan Yan's sudden solemn expression, and he didn't even dare to breathe for a while. I don't know what went wrong at all. He knew that Nan Yan knew medical skills. When Luo Xiajun called him recently, she often mentioned Nan Yan, and often mentioned that she cured her old illnesses. Could it be that he had a terminal illness? When those men beat him before, although they were quite strong, he felt that they should be superficial injuries. Just using fists shouldn't cause him too much internal injury. Yukian's nerves were a little tense, fearing that he really had an incurable disease. Finally, Nan Yan released his wrist, took out a silver needle from her clothes, and quickly pierced his abdomen with more than a dozen needles. Then she said in a calm voice, "Come with me to the hospital for surgery later." That, Nan Yan, is there something growing in my body? He was a little scared. No, it's just that my spleen was ruptured by them, and I need surgery to suture it. Splenic rupture is very serious in medical cases. If you are not careful, it will cause heavy bleeding and endanger your life. He wants to thank her for her habit of carrying silver needles and some emergency medicines with her. Otherwise, Even if his spleen rupture is not serious, it will delay time. When he is sent to the hospital, his spleen can only be removed. Now that she is here, only minimally invasive sutures are needed to save his spleen. Yukian's face is still a little ugly, and he was scared tomorrow. Looking at the dozen silver needles on his abdomen, he dared not even move. The police came quickly, and after learning the situation from Nanyan and Yukian, they took the men away. Let's go. That, the silver needle on my body. Yukian pointed to his abdomen, looking worried. Will I get rid of the silver needle if I walk? He didn't dare to move randomly. It's okay, just walk normally at your usual speed. Oh. Soon, the two returned to the car. Bai Chen had fastened his seat belt and was waiting for Nanyan to drive in the passenger seat. In the car, Yukian remembered that he had asked Nanyan for a mobile phone and reported to his family that he was safe. Knowing that they would not be back so soon, Yukian did not tell them that he was injured on the phone, fearing that they would worry, but just told them that he was fine. Yu Ziwen and Luo Ziajun received a call from their son, and their hearts, which had been lifted up, finally fell down. They could stay in the resort and continue their exclusive life with peace of mind. Hashtag. It took 3.5 hours to get here, and only 3 hours to go back. The car was parked directly in the parking lot of the first hospital. When going upstairs, Nanyan and Tao Qingming booked an operating room. Yukian was almost stunned by what he heard. Who is the student of Dad? She even knows Dean Tao, and they have such a good relationship. Until he was pushed into the operating room and was anesthetized before the operation, he saw Nanyan wearing surgical gowns, wearing medical rubber gloves, and holding a scalpel standing in front of the operating table, and his outlook on life collapsed. Are you really only 18 years old? Nanyan said lightly, can I show you my ID card? Yukian. Thank you, no need. He just felt that he seemed too bad. Speaking of studying in one of the top 10 famous universities in China, he was often regarded as a top student by others. But now, his arrogance and pride as a top student were hit to pieces. It's a small operation, don't be afraid, Nanyan comforted him. Oh, thank you. The operation was indeed not big. After he was given local anesthesia, he felt Nanyan make 3 holes in his abdomen, and then manipulated the robotic arm to go in and perform minimally invasive surgery. The whole process took less than half an hour. After the wound was sutured, Yukian was pushed into the general ward. Nanyan changed out of the surgical gown and went to see Fuyubai. While walking towards the ward, she told Bai Chen about Fuyubai's identity. Bai Chen asked, this is your third senior brother, do you have a senior brother and a second senior brother? Yes, yes. Nanyan nodded, but, I haven't contacted them yet. She planned to tell the senior and second senior brothers when the third senior brother recovered and they went to Shenangjia together. At that time, she was a disciple of Hua Shifang, ranking 4th and the youngest disciple. Since her, Hua Shifang has never accepted any disciples. At that time, the master was very impressed with her talent and said that the most favorite disciple he had been looking for decades had been found, and he would not need to accept any more disciples in the future. However, after she learned 80%, she was anxious to become a master, which made the master angry. In the past 3 years, no matter when she called, he would never talk to her. Alas! After solving these things, she had to go back and apologize to the master. Bai Chen saw her face change and knew that she was thinking wildly in her mind. After death and rebirth, she probably cared about things that she didn't care about before. She figured out things that she didn't understand before. Bai Chen reached out and rubbed her head gently, sighing, Xiaoyan, it's great. She can still come back. She didn't die completely in that laboratory. Nanyan didn't understand the emotion in his words, but just took his hand away speechlessly, and then used her 5 fingers to comb and smoothed the hair that he messed up. "Don't touch my hair." "Okay," Bai Chen responded with a doting look. After entering the ward, Nan Yan just called third brother and the phone rang. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 318. Fu Yubai looked at her tenderly and said gently, "Answer the phone first." "It's Uncle Master." Nan Yan looked at the caller ID. Sun Chan is now her master, but when she talks to Fu Yubai about him, she is more accustomed to calling him Uncle Master. "Uncle Master wants to talk to you." Fu Yubai was a little more interested. But because of his physical condition, even if he was interested, he still looked a little sluggish. "Maybe, otherwise he wouldn't call me." "Third brother, I'll go outside to answer it," Nan Yan said and walked out of the ward. Bai Chen and Fu Yubai were left looking at each other. Fu Linfen was not here today, and it was indeed a bit awkward for two people who were not good at taking the initiative to talk to others to be together. Nan Yan took the phone and went outside the ward. "Yan Yan." "Yes, it's me, second master." Sun Chan said kindly, "Oh, that's right. The time for the medical skills test has been set. It will be half a month later. You will come to the capital to participate. As for the test of planting medicinal materials, you will be given a task on the day of the medical skills test. See when you are free to come over." Nan Yan pondered for a moment. "I'll go there the day before the medical skills test. I have a lot of things to do recently and may not be able to get away." "Okay, just come in advance. When you come, I will tell you about the content of the test." Sun Chan knew she was busy, so he didn't say much to her. After explaining, he hung up the phone. After putting the phone back in her pocket, she returned to the ward. In the ward, Bai Chen and Fu Yubai were quite friendly to each other. Especially Bai Chen, who was very restrained and looked very gentle. One was gentle and the other was gentle. Inexplicably, they looked very compatible. Seeing her coming back, both of them secretly breathed a sigh of relief. "Third senior brother, let me introduce you to Bai Chen, my very good friend." After introducing Fu Yubai, Nan Yan introduced Bai Chen, "My third senior brother, Fu Yubai." "Mr. Bai." "Hello." "Mr. Fu, hello." After Nan Yan introduced them, the two shook hands to break the awkward situation of staring at each other and being speechless. "How do you feel?" Nan Yan took Fu Yubai's pulse as usual. Fu Yubai said in a gentle voice, "Every day when I wake up, I feel better than the day before." After taking back her hand, Nan Yan was in a good mood. "Your body is indeed recovering slowly. Wait a few more days, and your body will be able to withstand the risks of surgery. I will perform the surgery for you then." "Well, I'll listen to you. Just make your own arrangements." Bai Chen looked at Fu Yubai thoughtfully when he heard what he said. Does this so-called third senior brother have special feelings for Xiao Yanyan? He used to think that Nan Yan would never fall in love in her life. Her love has been completely buried in the laboratory, and experiments are her only object. As a result, he had only been with her for 2 days, and 2 men who had close relationships with Xiao Yanyan had already appeared. It seems that Xiao Yanyan after her rebirth is indeed different from before. With Nan Yan joining, the atmosphere in the ward became much more normal, and the 3 of them chatted casually. While chatting, Nan Yan felt her phone vibrate. After taking it out, she saw a message from Qin Lu. "Brother will be away for a few days, Yanyan, take care of yourself." She frowned and wanted to ask him where he was going, but hesitated for a moment and still didn't ask. She clicked on the screen a few times and replied with a "hm." Seeing this, Fu Yubai said, "Yanyan, if you are busy, go ahead and do it. Don't worry about me. I'm fine here. Xiaofeng will be back soon." "Nan Yan, then third brother, you should have a good rest. Bai Chen and I will leave first." Hashtag After returning from the hospital, Weibo became lively again because of Yu Qian's kidnapping. Nan Yan protected Yu Qian's privacy, and only implicitly mentioned that those people wanted to use the son of the Dean of Studies to threaten him. Netizens, who were already filled with righteous indignation, immediately worked together and jointly requested the police to severely punish the case of the principal and protect innocent people. Under the joint urging of netizens across the internet, the speed of the police also increased a lot. In addition, Qin Lu secretly sent people to help, and it took only 3 days for the dust to settle. All the participants were convicted and sentenced to fixed-term imprisonment ranging from 10 to 20 years according to the severity of the crime. The teachers and students of Zhide High School were very happy with this verdict, but after being happy, they began to worry about what the new principal sent by the higher authorities would be like. The national flag was raised on this day, and all the teachers and students of the school were under the national flag. After the national flag was raised, the Dean of Studies, who had disappeared for a few days, stood on the high platform again. Yu Ziwen was dressed in a suit and tie, which was more stable and heavy than the usual casual and comfortable style. He walked to the microphone, his eyes swept over the people below, and finally stopped at Nan Yan. Nan Yan was still as cold and casual as ever, standing in the square formation of Class 4, Grade 2, with a faint expression and no emotion. Noticing his gaze, she looked up. Yu Ziwen smiled at her and said, "Good morning, teachers and students." During his tenure, the former principal of Zhide High School used his position to illegally amass money many times, so the Education Bureau has deprived him of his position as principal. From today on, I will serve as the principal of Zhide High School. Today, I stand under the national flag and swear that I will work hard to be a good principal. Please supervise me. The Dean of Studies has become our principal. This is great. We don't have to worry about a new principal being parachuted in. Not to mention the students are happy, even the teachers who knew about it only 2 hours earlier than the students are very happy. Yu Ziwen is very prestigious and respected in Zhide High School. He is dedicated to the school and all the teachers and students. It is absolutely something that everyone likes to see him become the principal. Yu Ziwen looked at the reactions of the crowd, and his nervous mood finally calmed down a bit. To be honest, when Nan Yan called him and asked him if he wanted to be the principal, he was quite scared. He really couldn't believe that Nan Yan could really let him become the principal of Zhide High School. He even thought she was joking. As a result, within 10 minutes after she hung up the phone, the Education Bureau called him and informed him that he was to be the principal of Zhide High School. The longer they spent together, the more he felt that Nan Yan had more and more secrets, and each time was more shocking than the last. Until now, he still felt a little unreal. Coming back to his senses, Yu Ziwen raised his hand to signal, and everyone stopped talking and looked at him. Today I will announce 2 things. The first is about the fees that the former principal abused his power to collect. After verification, all will be returned to the students. The second thing is that we would like to invite Nan Yan, who participated in the whole process and made great contributions, to speak on stage. Nan Yan. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 319. Nan Yan stood on the podium, feeling speechless. She glanced at Yu Ziwen standing beside her, and took the microphone expressionlessly. Yu Ziwen took the lead and began to applaud. Nan Yan raised her eyebrows lazily, with her fingers erected on her lips. She did not make a sound, but the applause stopped tacitly. Since our new principal asked me to come on stage and say a few words, I will say a few words. There are still more than 10 days before the final exam. I hope everyone will focus more on studying and less on other things, especially the students in Class 4 of Grade 2. If you do not meet the standards in the final exam, I will arrange special remedial activities for you during the summer vacation. All the students in Class 4 of Grade 2. Absolutely, a sudden bolt from the blue. Why did the boss give them such an ultimatum at the flag-raising ceremony? At this moment, the entire Class 4 of Grade 2 felt extraordinary pressure. In the last 10 days, they might go crazy. We must not let the boss find an opportunity to arrange special tutoring for them. The head teacher was below, and the smile on his face could not be suppressed. Sure enough, letting Nan Yan manage these students is much more effective than her. With a cold voice, after saying these two sentences lightly, Nan Yan returned the microphone to Yu Ziwen. Yu Ziwen, well, Nan Yan's speech is good. As a student, the most important thing for you is to study hard. Okay, today's flag-raising ceremony ends here, everyone disperse. After turning off the microphone, Yu Ziwen called Nan Yan, who was walking down. Yan Yan, follow me to the office. Nan Yan paused, nodded at him, and the two went to the principal's office together. Yu Ziwen took office as a new official, his identity changed, and his office was moved from the original place to the current principal's office. But because he had been in office for too short a time, the office was still decorated in the same way as when the previous principal was there. After entering, Yu Ziwen frowned slightly, and then asked Nan Yan to sit down. The office, he will find someone to clean it up later. All these messy things should be thrown away. An office should be clean and tidy. It is not right to have so many things that have nothing to do with work and are used for enjoyment. He looked gloomy and found a teapot from the pile of messy things. After cleaning it, he brewed a pot of the best dahangbao, brought it over, and poured a cup for himself and Nan Yan respectively. Nan Yan leaned her head lazily. Teacher, you asked me to come to the office just to drink tea. No. Yu Ziwen sighed, then stood up and took out a document from the desk drawer. Yan Yan, take a look at this. What is it? Nan Yan took it in confusion. After seeing the cover, her face became a little speechless. The people above asked her to participate in an academic exchange in M country during the summer vacation as a representative of SHIDE students, and also to get an exchange quota for a well-known laboratory in M country. Seeing this, Yu Ziwen said, Yan Yan, I don't know why the higher UPS gave you such a task. If you feel embarrassed, don't take it. I'll refuse it for you. It doesn't matter. Just take it. I'm going to country M during the summer vacation. Nan Yan calmly opened the file and read it page by page. Finally, she signed her name at the end of the file. Yu Ziwen took the signed file from Nan Yan, read it again, and then put it away solemnly. Although he didn't quite understand why the higher UPS asked her, a sophomore student, to go to country M for an exchange. However, after thinking of Nan Yan's seemingly omnipotent ability, he had some understanding. It is estimated that the higher UPS made such a decision because of her abilities. After drinking 2 cups of tea in the principal's office, Nan Yan looked at the time and got up and went back to the classroom. As soon as she entered Class 4 of Grade 2, there was a sudden howling of ghosts and wolves. Boss, please lower your requirements. The average score increased by 20 points. This requirement is not an ordinary manuscript. Boss, we promise to study hard in the future. Can we not attend the remedial classes? Although they don't know how Nan Yan will give them remedial classes, they don't want it no matter how. They want to relax after the hard-earned vacation. Boss, aren't you trying to kill us? Please raise your hand. Nan Yan raised her eyebrows and said faintly, it seems that my requirements are still a bit low. You still have the leisure to bargain with me. The originally lively classroom became quiet in an instant. The students in the class quickly picked up their books and read them carefully. Nan Yan looked around, then sat in her seat and took out her mobile phone. Since yesterday, she sent a message to Qin Lu, and he has not replied. She called once in the morning, and the call reminded her that the other party was out of service area. Nan Yan couldn't help but worry about Qin Lu. Even if she knew how strong Qin was, she would still worry uncontrollably. So, where did he go? There was no signal on the phone, so I couldn't get in touch with her. Nan Yan looked at the message she had sent but still hadn't been replied to, and her expression was slightly solemn. Finally, she could only sigh secretly and plan to try to contact her again in a few hours. Hashtag. In the afternoon, outside Hyde High School, Shen Junqing and Bai Chen were waiting for Nan Yan together. The two of them didn't know each other, so they didn't know that the person the other person was waiting for was the same person they were waiting for. Not long after, Nan Yan came out of the door carrying her school bag and holding a lollipop. Shen Junqing and Bai Chen greeted her at the same time. "Sister, this way." "Xiao Yanyan, I'm here." After greeting each other, the two looked at each other. "Shen Junqing. Bai Chen." Both of them said in their hearts at the same time, "Who is this? Nan Yan." This scene seems a bit familiar. But the last churro field was between Shen Junqing and Boss Qin. But this time, it was changed to Shen Junqing and Bai Chen. She chewed the lollipop in her mouth expressionlessly and walked towards them. Bai Chen put his hands on Nan Yan's shoulders affectionately, and held her behind him as if he was protecting a calf. He asked with a hint of hostility, "Xiao Yanyan, who is this?" "Yanyan, who is he?" Shen Junqing's charming peach blossom eyes were serious, not as carefree as before. His status in Nan Yan's heart is not as good as Qin Lu's, but he can bear this tone in front of him. If a new man appeared and had a higher status than him, he couldn't bear it. Bai Chen's words and his tone directly aroused Shen Junqing. "Nan Yan." She raised her hand to rub her eyebrows and said softly, "Don't block the school gate and disturb other students from leaving school. Get in the car first and find a place to talk." After she finished speaking, Bai Chen chuckled and asked, "Xiao Yanyan, whose car do you want to take?" "Nan Yan." Qin Ye's little ancestor is a real boss. Author, Junanan. Chapter 320. This is a headache. However, Nan Yan is Nan Yan after all, and the headache is nothing to her. She turned around and asked Shen Junqing, "Third brother, where are we going?" "Find a quiet place nearby." Shen Junqing kept looking at Bai Chen's hand on Nan Yan's shoulder. "I really want to chop it off for him." Bloody thoughts lingered in her mind, but Shen Junqing had a gentle expression on her face. "Yanyan, do you want to drink milk tea or coffee?" Nan Yan said casually, "Let's have milk tea. I remember there was a milk tea shop that tasted good. Many little girls liked to buy milk tea there." Shen Junqing smiled and asked, "Where shall we go?" Nan Yan nodded, and then said to Bai Chen, "You drive and follow the third brother. Third brother and I have something to talk about, so I took his car." Bai Chen said and looked at Shen Junqing with an even more unfriendly look. Sure enough, besides Qin Lu, there were other men besides Xiao Yanyan. This discovery made Bai Chen quite unhappy. In the past, there were only a few of them around Xiao Yanyan, but then she went to Shishkin's laboratory, and more people surrounded her. Epsilon equals Omicron asterisk, alas. Xiao Yanyan's popularity is too high, and there are too few people who can resist her charm. When Shen Junqing heard that Nan Yan said she wanted to join him, she gave Bai Chen a proud look. Bai Chen. Where did such a childish man come from? Hashtag. After all three people got in the car, the two luxury cars drove away from the gate of Hyde High School one after the other. After they left, the parents of the students who were watching dared to discuss the relationship between Nan Yan, Shen Junqing, and Bai Chen. However, as a person involved, Nan Yan didn't mind what they thought about their relationship. The last thing she cares about is what outsiders think. In the car, Shen Junqing asked casually while driving, "Yanyan, You have an exam in about 10 days, right? Well, to be precise, there are still 11 days. Less than 2 weeks. After the exams are over, it will be summer vacation. As sophomores in high school, most people will definitely not waste the entire 2 months of summer vacation and make up classes. After all, the next semester is the senior year of high school. In the third year of high school, it's time to take the college entrance examination. But Nanyang doesn't have to worry about studies and college entrance examinations. If it weren't for the purpose of getting into Taito University, she wouldn't even want to take the college entrance examination. There was no way, she still had to go through this process in order to enter Imperial University. Shen Junqing looked at her from the corner of her eye. What are your plans for the summer vacation? Nanyang said calmly, after the exam, I will go to the imperial capital first, and then I will go to Country M to participate in an exchange event with the school teachers, which will take about half a month. It is also scheduled to go back to Shenangjia to see Master during the summer vacation. It's not summer vacation yet, and she has already planned how to spend it. She must go to Country M. If there is a chance, she will meet Shishkin and expose his true colors. Yan, you are so busy, Shen Junqing complained speechlessly. She, a little girl who is still in school, is even busier than him. I really don't know what she is busy with every day. Yeah, indeed. Nanyang leaned on the seat casually, with a calm expression. Compared to before, she is actually much more relaxed now. Otherwise, how would she have time to go to school and experience the experience of being a student? Third brother, are you okay? Third brother originally wanted to take you to Country M to see the world. Isn't the global racing competition also held during your summer vacation? I'll see if I have time then. Third brother, do you want to participate or be a spectator? If you are here, of course you will be a contestant. If you don't have time, forget it. I will join in the fun and be a spectator. Shen Junqing's enthusiasm for racing has dropped a lot recently. Mainly because after seeing Nanyang's racing skills, he no longer has so much confidence in his own racing skills. It's okay for casual fun, but if you want to compare it with professional racing drivers, forget it. Nanyang sensed the meaning of Shen Junqing's words, thought about it, and said, when will the competition be held? Tell me in advance and sign up for me in your name. Can you spare some time? Shen Junqing didn't want her to be in trouble. The corners of Nanyang's lips curved slightly. I can still squeeze out the time for a game. Shen Junqing's eyes brightened a little. Well, after the third brother goes back, let's do the registration first. Good. The carriage was quiet for a while. Shen Junqing couldn't hold back the doubts in her heart and asked, Yan, who was that man just now? He has known Nanyang for so long, but he has not seen any other close men around her. And Bai Chen didn't feel like he and Nanyang were ordinary friends. Nanyang lowered her eyes, looking at the seat belt fastened to her body, and said calmly, we used to be very good friends. She didn't want to tell anyone else what happened to her, except the people she had a good relationship with before. Even Qin Lu and Mr. N are no exception. She was worried that if she told her, they would think of her as a freak or an alien. Only. Nanyang keenly sensed that Qin Lu might have some doubts about her identity. However, he had no animosity towards her. She believed that he would not hurt her. You had a friend like him before, how did you get to the situation you were in before? Shen Junqing's questions were always sharp. Nanyang murmured, maybe, I was too stupid before. If she wasn't too stupid and trusted Shishkin too much, she wouldn't have the opportunity to meet these people now. Gain or loss, she couldn't tell it herself. Soon, the car stopped at the milk tea shop that Shen Junqing mentioned. Bai Chen followed his car, and when he saw his car stopped, he also stopped. The three of them entered the milk tea shop together. At this time, the milk tea shop was still quiet. In addition to them, there were two girls, sitting in the corner, holding tablets and looking at things. Yan Yan, what kind of milk tea do you want to drink? Nan Yan was called over by Shen Junking, looking at the menu, a little dazzled. She and Milk Tea Xiao had only drunk it 2 or 3 times in total, and those middle school boys in class 4 of senior 2 gave it to her. Looking at the string of names, she couldn't match the taste at all. Simply, she ordered one at random. Shen Junking ordered a soda for himself. Bai Chen took a look and had no idea what was on it, so he ordered a cup of milk tea like Nan Yan ordered. After the milk tea was ready, the three of them sat down by the window. Let's introduce each other first, Shen Junking, Bai Chen. Nan Yan bit the straw and pointed at the two of them and introduced each other's names. As for the rest, she didn't plan to say more. Hello, Mr. Bai. Hello, Mr. Shen. In front of Nan Yan, the two shook hands with each other. However, after the two hands were held together, no one let go. Instead, they started to increase their strength secretly.